with this upgrade, there will be no more mining. Energy consumption will go down by a factor of 1,000. Is that what's really going to happen?
Yeah, that's correct. And it is indeed one step along a long roadmap. We think of it as a paradigm shift in how the world architects itself. It's essentially the next step where one step is the democratization of the trust layer, where up till now it's been very centralized. Second step that's in full flight right now is the democratization of the global decentralized finance system. And this step is the introduction of something that people are calling ultrasound money. So where a fixed amount of gold on the planet and a fixed supply of Bitcoin represents sound money to certain people, with $13 billion worth of Ether locked up in Ethereum 2 and 70 billion locked up in decentralized finance. We have enormous demand for the Ether token, and now we're burning the Ether token with the introduction of the London hard fork and EIP 1559.
So, Joe, obviously one of the sort of upward drivers of Ethereum over the last year has been the extraordinary rise of decentralized finance. Lending platforms in which someone can lock up their assets and then borrow a stable coin or a coin to lever up. Things that represent sort of equity. In the Ethereum world, they're often called governance tokens. Yesterday, we heard Gary Gensler talk about, look, a lot of these things, if they look like equity, they might get treated like equity. Is that a risk that there is a lot of activity on the Ethereum network that's de facto equity, but not currently complying by any sort of recognizable SEC regulations?
So I think it's certainly the case that there are projects out there that would be considered unregistered securities from the perspective of exchanges who are already looking at their listings. Some of those tokens can be delisted. There is a notion that the SEC introduced, Bill Hinman introduced that of sufficient decentralization, and so many of these projects. Ethereum itself was defined as sufficiently decentralized, and the Ether token was deemed to be not a security. And many of these projects are moving really rapidly and have had on the roadmap for a long time, decentralizing themselves. And so I think we'll see an orderly cleanup of some projects that that look more like securities, but many projects are indeed very decentralized already in their governance.
Now, Ethereum is not a digital currency, more like a whole new operating system powered by the blockchain, but it's still just as volatile as Bitcoin. Do you see Ethereum surpassing Bitcoin someday? And do you see less volatility after this upgrade?
Yeah, so the Ether token we think of as a crypto fuel. It has characteristics of a cryptocurrency, but it's used to pay for transactions and storage on the network. And the Ethereum ecosystem surpassed the Bitcoin ecosystem long ago in terms of the amount of developer activity, in terms of transaction number per day, in terms of transaction value, in terms of the number of tokens that are in existence and issued on the network. And Bitcoin is a brilliant use case. I think of it as a fractionalized NFT in its own right that many people can own. But as you indicated, Ethereum is a platform for decentralized applications. And I think you're basically asking, will the next generation internet or the next generation economy be bigger than a narrow money system? And so I would argue that yes, it will be orders of magnitude bigger in time.
So the sound money, or the digital sound money meme, so to speak, originally pushed by Bitcoiners. Now you're saying that after the the EIP 1559, that ETH will have similar characteristics. That being said, I mean, you're influential. Consensys is influential within Ethereum. Of course, If Vitalik is very influential. Bitcoin doesn't have that. There's no individual or company that could say, you know what, we're going to hard fork. And if you don't upgrade to the new rules, then your node and your coins aren't going to work. Does that get in the way of being this sort of like universal trustless money, sound money, when there are actual like individuals like yourself and others who can theoretically push to change the rules?
So Bitcoin's mission is to be a narrowly focused sound money system, and the people, the developers in that ecosystem and the major users of that ecosystem say things like it's already found product market fit and it's already substantially complete. It'll certainly get a little better around the edges over time, and people are trying to build out a layer 2 on top of it, but that's not easy. And so it's doing well for what it wants to be, and the Ethereum ecosystem is akin to the internet ecosystem, and so it's going to have just so many different kinds of actors building out a very diverse ecosystem. So there will be many more voices. There already are many more voices in the Ethereum ecosystem that are prominent.
So with Ethereum 2.0, what will be possible that's not possible now? How will this change the internet as we know it? For example, will Facebook, Twitter, Google, centralized networks, centralized social networks be obsolete?
So Ethereum 2.0 enables us to keep doing what we're doing on Ethereum 1. The transaction will be smooth. You won't need to do anything in order to keep using applications that you like. Ethereum 2.0 will bring, as Vitalik indicated, roughly 1,000-fold reduction in the energy utilization footprint, much cheaper transactions. Layer 2 technologies that are building on top of Ethereum 1 right now are already bringing hundreds and thousands of transactions per second of increased scalability to our ecosystem. And so that's already reducing the cost of transactions. Many of the layer 2 technologies need available data, reliably available data. And so what Ethereum 2 will bring is an enormous amount of reliably available data. And so brings scalability and cost savings.